And welcome back to The Bench. Yes, it is indeed. It's loaded. It's packed. Why? Because we're sitting on a precipice, if not a crossroads right now as a country. Tomorrow, nane. Nobody knows what it holds. But we could use some divine intervention. Also, a task force was put together not too long ago to discuss the way forward for religious organizations and to also curb pastors who just are extreme, especially after the horror of Shakahola. We're going to be talking about that, the way forward in this country. Where to next? And the bench includes Bishop John Warari Wakabu. He is a member of the Inter-Religious Council of Kenya and also chairman of the Kenya Christian Forum. Right next to him is Charles Kanjama, the senior counsel, who was a member of the task force that put together that report. Right next to him is Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome, religious scholar. And right next to me is the most Reverend Evans Omolo. He's the provost of the All Saints Cathedral. Gentlemen, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. I don't know where to start, but I think senior counsel, let's start with you and ask you real quick. You have put together this report, right?
Yes, indeed.
And it obviously, it's a detailed report.
Yeah.
Basically, what's it saying about putting a leash or curbing rampant or, runaway pastors?
So Jeff, what we did as a task force is we visited all 47 counties. We had public participation sessions. There are members of the public, community-based organizations, and largely religious leaders from the counties. And we were asking them several questions in line with the mandate, the task force terms of reference. We were asking them about religious extremism. We were asking them about religious tolerance, and we were asking them about the relationship between religion and the state. The first thing is that our constitution safeguards freedom of religion in Article 32 of the Constitution. And in Article 8, it says there shall be no state religion. In other words, the state shall not favor one religion over another. It shall treat them all fairly. And the Constitution, of course, begins with a preamble that acknowledges the supremacy of Almighty God of all creation. So when we spoke to all these people, including the religious leaders, they told us a number of things. They said we need a policy to guide the relations of religion and the state. And so we've proposed a policy. They said we have been governed by the Societies Act. It was enacted in 1968. It's 55 years old. It is no longer fit for purpose. It's outdated. We have a new constitution. We've had so many legal developments. We want our law so that we can move from the Societies Act as religious societies to an act that relates to us. They said when we come to Nairobi to deal with the registrar of societies, we don't have registry offices across the country. The registry is not digitized. We'd like the registry services for religious organizations to be devolved, to be digitized, to become more efficient. We want registrar officials who know about matters of religion. Those are some of our recommendations. They also said that we want to have a measure of self-regulation. We don't want government to be the one imposing on us. Matters of religion are best understood by people of faith. And so we recommended an amount of self-regulation through what you're calling umbrella religious organizations. And there are already some of them. We know them very well. SUPKEM, for example, among the Muslims, and the Council of Imams and Preachers. Among the Christians, you have several, but some of the ones that are well known include Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, National Council of Churches of Kenya, Evangelical Alliance of Kenya. There are many others. Among the Hindus, you have Hindu Council. So we proposed a measure of self-regulation. But government also comes in, because when you set up an organization, somebody has to register and say these are the officials. We recommended that religious organizations be given legal personality like many other associations in this country.
Okay,
so we've proposed a separate law for religious organizations with a hybrid model that includes self-regulation and some government oversight. And then most important, there's a Religious Affairs Commission that will oversight the registrar so that it's no longer the government alone doing the thing, but it is including religious people in the Religious Affairs Commission to safeguard independence of religion.
Bishop, do you think this will curb or tame rogue pastors?
Thank you so very much, Jeff, for having us tonight. And I'd like to join the royal media family in condoling the family of Professor
Yeah, good man, Prof.
Joroge.
Yes.
We've lost a very, very important, great Kenyan.
Good man.
Having said that, Jeff, I would like to say that God is a God of order. 1 Corinthians 14:40 says that everything should be done in order. This was Paul speaking to the church and religious people in the town of Corinth who had become disorderly. They were doing whatever they felt they should do. And so God being a God of order, then we should have order in the religious fraternity, in the religious circles. And yes, as we continue growing, regulations will help curb the rogue religious people. And we need to see order in the church. We need to see accountability. We need to see transparency. We need to see that philosophy of making this world a better place than we found it. So it must begin with us, religious leaders. How do I carry myself? How do I walk? And it is said in the Christian circles that when your neighbor is not reading his Bible, he is reading your life. You are the walking epistle. Yes, Jeff, we want to believe that the regulations and the new commission that may be that may come up and all that will help put order in the house of God.
Absolutely. Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome, you and I have spoken on this bench several times.
Yeah.
And, you know, it took something like Shakahola for people to realize how crazy, how low we have sunk.
Yes.
In terms of, you know, desperation or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Will this help?
Jeff, I say we can come up with all the legislation that we need in this country. But I always say the law is as good as its implementation. Take, for example, we have a beautiful document called the Constitution of Kenya with a beautiful, very elaborate Bill of Rights. But look at what is happening in the country. And I want to commend my senior here for the work they've done. They've come up with a very good recommendations, but I'm more concerned about the implementation of that law. Because, Jeff, let me ask you, when Shakahola was happening, 400 plus Kenyans dying in this country, buried, where is the security? Where are the people who are supposed to protect the lives and property of Kenyans? Where were they? What were we doing? Even with the Societies Act, I still believe with all the structures that we have to make sure that Kenyans are safe, we would have curbed this. We did not have to wait for 400 Kenyan plus to die. So it's good that we come up with laws. It's good that we come up with policies, and they're very good policies. I've gone through them, maybe amendments here and there, but I'm concerned about the implementation. Jeff, God will help us, but God helps our people when the people themselves help themselves.
Yeah.
So, and this is, I'm reciting this from the Quran. It tells us, for God will not change the situation of our people until the people themselves decide we want to change. I think as Kenyans, Jeff, we need now to change. It cannot be business as usual. Even as we put the laws in place. Take, for example, corruption. For how long have you been talking about corruptions? And every new leader coming in will tell you, give me 100 days, and I'll do away with corruption. We have even structures in place, but corruption is still here with us. We moved from tens of thousands, we moved to millions. These days we talk about billions.
Like it's nothing.
Like it's only, somebody will even say it's only 7 billion, not much.
Yeah.
You see? So it's about implementations, about integrity, about taking responsibility. Wherever you are a journalist, take responsibility. He's a lawyer, take responsibility. As a religious leader, take responsibility. Our security organs, they should be responsible. So laws, but more or equally important, the implementation of those laws. I think it cannot be business as usual.
Yeah. Provost, do we need divine intervention at this point?
Jeff, thank you. I join my colleagues in really agreeing that something had to be done. I believe definitely 100% we need divine intervention. However, as we pray and as we seek God to intervene in our situation, Jeff, I believe that we must take responsibility. And that responsibility, as I agree with my colleagues here, must identify a number of things. One, we must identify the processes that form people who then become religious leaders, whether they're imams or they're pastors or they're bishops or who they are. What is that process that formed them? Is it Evans has a big voice, he can project his voice, he can quote 2 Bible verses or Quranic verses here, and then can pull a crowd, and then passes on to be a minister, to be an imam? What is that process? So number 2, what are the accountability frameworks that we create to safeguard every single person who purports or claims that they are called by God to be a religious leader? So from where I sit, Jeff, I believe as much as we're seeking God, but we must invite accountability over every single person who then undertakes a religious activity. Because without that accountability, then we'll end up seeing what we have seen all around us. And therefore, as a country where we are at, we must not let this chance go. Because that is the opportunity then to tame the rogueness that we've seen, the radicalization, the extremism, the birth of cultism and occultism, the gullibility of the general population. Therefore, it's not just about a prayer, but it's about assessing the processes. It's about asking, who am I accountable to? And that then would be able to weed out people who want to operate by themselves and are a law to themselves, claim exclusive access to the truth and secrets, and they wouldn't bow to any submission. Jeff, we must regulate.
Absolutely. And Senior Counsel, I agree with the provost there, because we watch these folks on YouTube. We see these videos, these guys performing miracles. I mean, and it's such BS, for lack of a better word. You know, it's lies. They're blatantly lying, and then people are so gullible. Will there be jail terms? Will there be fines for those, doing these things and not supposed to, and under the law?
One of the things, Jeff, when we went around the country, we also talked to the security agencies like the county commissioners, the county security teams. We actually found that there are more instances, leave alone Shakahola, where people died. There are other instances of religious extremism and abuse of religion. And one of the things they told us is that they have had a challenge about how to deal with these situations practically. Even in the case of Shakahola, there were several times Mackenzie was subject to complaints, even by the Pastors' Fellowship of Malindi. But when this went to the security services, they didn't know how to deal with the issue because there was lack of clarity about when crimes are committed under the pretext of religion. There's even a case which they took to court, and there was a case against him in the court, Magistrates Court in Malindi. But it was not making progress. They were not very clear. So one of the proposals in the draft bill that will undergo further public participation in Parliament is that there be a few offenses that are defined where people misuse religion deliberately, for example, to cause loss of life, to cause injury to people and so on. Even a conman, classic conman, the moment you just mention God and you continue doing your conmanship, it becomes very difficult for security forces to do anything against you. So that even authentic religious leaders are appalled at how anyone can misuse religion without facing scrutiny. They're actually destroying the good name of religion because they are allowed there. So under the proposed bill, there will be a few offenses that are defined there. And basically, these would have been offenses even if the bill did not declare them so. Because if you cause damage to life, damage to health, you refuse to take children to hospital because of a purported religious belief, they don't get treated, they die. You get people to starve themselves, you deny them food. You know, some of these issues, even some of the cases of clear conmanship. Some conmen, they do their con games outside church, they are taken to court. The moment they mention that it is in a mosque or in a church, you can't touch them. So there's a mechanism there that has to respect religion, recognizing that I may have a certain religious belief that is different to yours, so you don't judge my religious belief just because you have a different one. Respect the fact that people can have different religious beliefs, but then when you notice the outcome is that you're causing direct harm to people's lives and safety, then the law proposes that a measure can be taken against you.
Bishop, at the same time, have you found that mainstream religion has gotten a bad reputation because of these rogue pastors, as they call themselves?
Yes, Jeff, we just heard in the news that Kenya, from the central bank, we have now new currency.
New notes, yes.
New notes.
Yes.
And we were wondering, why did we have to have them at this time? But the thing is, there is the genuine note in the counterfeit note. When you see a counterfeit note, is a testament that there is a genuine note. And so here, we have had rogue preachers and clergy, and they have kind of disturbed the organization of religious setting. And what our good counsel has said, and he's given an example of Shakahola, the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya actually blew the whistle when we realized that there is something happening there. And as he has explained, we took this to the authorities, but then there was a problem because of those gaps. But most importantly, the gaps that are so glaring is that we are lacking goodwill to implement the laws that are already there, because they are penal code and there's criminal law. So why don't we implement them? For example, we've had one or two examples of rogue preachers. They are known, their addresses are known, and they are actually conning people in their television stations and all that. Why doesn't the government, through its machinery, go for these people and have them corrected or punished, for lack of better word? And then our mainstream organizations will continue with their good work. Jeff, I would bet the school you went to was a missionary school, because the religious family, they've put up good hospitals, schools, and all this. So when you realize that you have negative elements, the best thing is to get rid of them according to the law. But blanket blaming, for example, people have been asking, where is the church? The church is here and it's working very hard. We do not sleep. We work day and night. That one said, there are a few rotten apples. Please, let's pick them and put them aside. We will visit them in prison. We will pray with them, because we are called to minister to the good and to the bad.
We can also put them in the garbage.
No. We are not going to throw
rotten apples
in
the garbage.
We will follow them at committee, and we will pray with them. And I'm sure there is what we call the double jeopardy.
Double jeopardy.
Yeah, that when one has been
accused the first time,
and he or she has paid for the wrong, then you
can be accused again.
Embrace that one. So that is what I mean.
You're very forgiving, Bishop.
Indeed.
Sheikh Ibrahim, let me ask you this.
Yes.
This is not going to prevent future Shakaholas. You know that?
Definitely. Yes, it's not going to prevent. But, Jeff, first of all, let me, I want to respond to something that my brother, Bishop, I always call him my brother because we walked a long way with him. And I pray to God that we continue working together. I went to a Catholic school myself, my secondary school, Catholic school, beautiful school in Kirinyaga called Mwea Boys Secondary School. It's now called St. Augustine's. I got a lot of teaching there, good teaching there. But unfortunately, the name of religion has been tainted by these people. And I was just telling the lawyer as we were waiting to come in here there is no absolute freedom. The Constitution actually gives us all those freedoms, but there is nothing like absolute freedom. Every freedom has a limitation. Every right, Jeff, has a limitation. Even you in the media fraternity, you have limitations.
Correct.
And you have regulations. So we need to do what we need to do. The provost here said this is an opportunity. For every cloud there is a silver lining. I want to believe that God wants us to come out of this Shakahola stronger, and we should do all what it takes to make sure there is no future Shakahola. Because, Jeff, it is very sad. 400 Kenyans. These are people.
And there could be more.
There could be more.
There could be more.
I think they're still discovering.
They're still exhuming.
Yeah. Much as we are asking ourselves a lot of questions, where was the security? Where was the intelligence and the rest? But that is in the past. But we should do whatever it takes. And we can do it, Jeff, to stop future Shakaholas happening. And for me, it's very simple. First of all, we need to understand the power of religion. I call it the power of religion. Without mentioning names, I've seen powerful politicians in this country being put in a pool of water. It's only a religious leader who can be able to push a powerful politician in this country into a pool of water. I'm not mentioning names. Yes, I call that the power of religion.
Yes.
Jeff, if I want money from your pocket now, I'll just use religion. I will invoke the name of God. And Jeff, utatoa zote zile kwa mfuko. In the name of God. And for me, the power of religion lies in three things. Religion is so emotive, more emotive than anything else. Religion, to a large extent, it is unquestionable. God has said this, neno limesema, unquestionable. Qur'ani imesema, unquestionable. I'm not saying we should not question. God gave us the intellect. We should be able to ask if something is reasonable or unreasonable. Number 3, religion promises reward beyond this world. Jeff, I'm sure you have contributed to the construction of some religious institutions.
More than once.
Who will pay you that money?
They said in heaven I will...
Where? But you believe. We believe that.
Yes, believe.
Kanjama, I'm sure you've done a lot of that.
Yes.
God will pay me. Here lies the power of religion. It can be used positively, and that is the intention of God. Religion is supposed to be used positively. That power is supposed to deliver people from being lost to the path that God wants them to go. But unfortunately, human beings, we have good people and bad people. Look at, for example, the Muslims. Now we are talking Shakahola. It's a Christian priest. But if he was Abdul Aziz Mackenzie, it would be a different story. Now is a terrorist. Hakuna tofauti. They are the same. The violent extremist groups using Islam, like Al-Shabaab, is just another Shakahola. It's just another version of Shakahola. So throughout the history, human history, religion has been misused. Religion was misused, and it could be misused in future. So what we need to do, we need to learn from Shakahola, learn from the terrorist groups, Al-Shabaab, Al-Qaeda, and the rest, put our house in order and make sure we are always alert. And for those who find themselves on the wrong side of the law, and I want to agree with the lawyer here. I sympathize with the security organs. If, let's say, a person commits an offense, but you don't know what offense that is, how are you going to charge that person? But now with the new proposed law here, at least we'll be able to catch up with some of these people. But more importantly, I want to, again, repeat here. I think as Kenyans, we need now to, I don't know, I think we need to keep on reminding Kenyans that wherever you are, if you're a police officer, you're answerable. If you're a judge, you're answerable. At the end of the day, to God Almighty for that position that you hold. Jeff, kuna siku nilikwambia hapa, even you on this bench here, you're answerable to God. Ukashtuka usema, what have I done? And I told you, Jeff, and I'm repeating it again, if you use it to mislead Kenyans, you're answerable before God. If the provost here misuses the position in the church to mislead God's people, you'll be answerable. If I use my position at Jamia Mosque to mislead God's people, I'm answerable. So I think we need to remind each Kenyans that each one of us has a very important role to play. And when it comes to implementation of the law, I think we need to re-educate our people. Those of them who belong to the Muslim community, when they come to church or to the mosque, I think, Bishop, maybe we should stop focusing a lot about heaven. We focus on this world, what we need to do in this world before going to heaven. Because I believe, Jeff, I will earn a good place there depending on what I do here.
By the way, no one has ever gone there and come back and told us about it. Huh?
Well, it's our belief, we believe that.
It's just belief.
Yeah, it's the power of religion.
Provost,
Yes.
does that put us as a country at the crossroads?
I think, in a sense, yes, it does. But in a sense, I think I like what's happening. I really commend the task force, the Honorable Mutava Musimi-led task force, which our good brother, Senior Counsel, was part of here. When you read that report, Jeff, for me, as a believer, as a Christian who desires to be a role model, who desires to positively influence, it echoes most of the things that I've said over and over again. One of the things I love about it is the call for self-regulation and the standards also they put on people who would want to be religious leaders. I love that because actually when you read the report, it even gives background studies around groups like the matatu industry, the regulation by the PSVs, and the demand that every matatu must belong to a SACCO, be under an umbrella. That, for me, is one of the greatest wins we have here. Why? Because, and if it were me, they register all these Madagodanios that we have around. They register every one of them. Then begin a process of thorough vetting with clearly defined frameworks. Then accountability is placed on you, not necessarily by the government. And Kanjama did mention well that there's a balance between government oversight and self-regulation. Allow the umbrellas to self-regulate. For example, if it's an NCCK affiliate, National Council of Churches of Kenya affiliate church, and they are misbehaving, you know, as we go for them, as the regulator goes for them, we are also telling the National Council of Churches of Kenya, please deal with your guy before we come, before we deregister you, before. So that then for me is a win, because then it puts fire on the heels and on the bottoms of everyone. And we will not allow you to spoil for us. When it goes to Evangelical Alliance, the same. When it comes to SUPKEM and Council of Imams, the same. No one will spoil for us. You will not radicalize young people in estates and recruit them into Al-Shabaab, yet we are there. So Council of Imams will come and say, no, this one we are closing, this one we are deregistering. So that for me is a win. And where I said, it's setting us on course to doing some little cleanup. For me, I will not mind. I will not mind if people who have done what Sheikh is explaining here use the position they have in the religious space to con people, to harm people, to impoverish others, to go behind jails. And as Bishop did mention, we will go and preach. We will go and preach to them there. We will go and lead them to the right way, whether it's in Islam or Hinduism or Christianity. We'll lead them now back to the right way, so that when they come out, Jeff, we must clean the society of this thing. And we have examples. And I love that report because, again, it compares the US, it compares the UK, it compares Rwanda, and all of that tell you possible things that were to go wrong elsewhere that were saved by similar kind of things that we are undertaking. For me, I look at this positively, that we are at a defining moment that we must turn things around for the better.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, I want to take a break, come back and talk. Nane. we're all in anticipation. We're all fearful. It's so many emotions that are running through our minds right now. And of course, our children.
Oh, yeah.
We call them.
It's a holiday tomorrow.
It's a holiday tomorrow.
Jeff,
and also,
Jeff,
yes, sir.
Do you have a minute before we leave the regulation?
Go on.
Because I feel, looking at Jesus, he had a very small congregation. And coming from the Evangelical Alliance background, I feel we should not rush this thing. We should empower the small little congregations and work with them until they acquire that status, and try to help them, empower them with education, empower them with the law. I would like our friend, Brother Kajama, to meet us at the Eastlands social hall. And slowly, so this change should not be abrupt. This change, and it is written in the task force report, it will be gradual. So indeed, I feel for those small struggling congregations, and I'm reminded of the Barclays Bank. It was started by Barclay, who was just a simple villager and a clergy, and he started receiving money deposit from the congregation, and today we have Barclays Bank. So we start small. We empower those little ones out there, because I can tell you, after this report, after it was released, the small little churches in our village, they are panicking. They are calling us, are we going to have our doors closed? And we are telling them, no, read the report, and we are sure it's going to be gradual, and we are going to, it was a win-win.
Yeah. By the way, Bishop, Barclays was taken over by ABSA, just FYI.
Indeed.
Yeah. Bishop Warari Wakabu, Senior Counsel Charles Kanjama, Sheikh Ibrahim Litome, the Very Reverend Evans Amolo, Provost. We're going to take a break now, come back, talk about Nane, talk about what do you think of the cabinet nominees who are now, the president signed into the Gazette this evening. They're going to be sworn in tomorrow morning. What are your thoughts about these CSs? And of course, Kenya moving forward. There's only one Kenya. We always talk about that, Sheikh. Remember, there's only one Kenya, no other. Keep tweeting. Where are you at? What are your thoughts? At Konanga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLive. JKLive takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.